Carter, I know you were here. I know I'm running late.
I am here.
Isn't people? You're still here. Thank you for hanging on. Mastectomy Booby. This is just such an interesting piece. And I know you have others too that I've seen, but I'd love to hear why this was important to you.
This is all very new to me. I grew up in graphic design and teaching graphic design at a collegiate level, that sort of thing. I did go back and get my MS so that I had hoped to continue teaching at a collegiate level, and then invisible disabilities got the best of me. And I cannot do that job anymore. I muddled through and did not much of anything until 2 years ago when I suffered a great loss in my life. And I decided to take a class in a medium that I had never explored, which is clay. I had never touched clay before 2 years ago, other than maybe Play-Doh as a Girl Scout when I was a kid. That was the closest I came. But I fell in love with it. And I did it every day, and I've done it every day since, and grew my craft. I also do photography, but this was something that really felt important to me. And I decided last year, I went on the internet and I Googled pottery vacay. And I discovered that there's nothing in the US pretty much. So I went to Italy and I studied ceramic art. And that's another thing too. I think of myself as a ceramic artist, not a potter, because I don't do so much functional art. And while I don't know if you can tell, this is a box, you can open it and you can actually store things in it, but there's a message behind it. And so many of the pieces that I do other kinds of, like raku, naked raku, bucero, avara, different kinds of alternative firing methods. But I fell in love with the Booby boxes when I was trying to make a closed form. And that's how you make this sort of box. And I couldn't get rid of the nipple. And so I was like, that's okay. It's just going to be a Booby box. And when I did that first one, I was like, this is actually cool. And I started thinking about all the different kinds of boobies out there. There's the Gaga Booby, and she's a pointed gold booby, and there's a pierced booby and a censored booby and a rock hard breastfeeding booby. And so I started doing all these things, and they seemed whimsical and lighthearted to most people. And I had some people accuse me of just liking boobs, women no less. I guess they're missing the point. The mastectomy Booby is what spoke to me about this. Is I have a friend who died of breast cancer, and she had a mastectomy, and she always viewed her body as beautiful, and that the mastectomy actually became part of who she was and her beauty. And I remember when I did this thing, I was a graphic designer at the time, and I did her Facebook cover for her. And I don't know if you can see this. Is it visible?
A little. It's a little hard, but oh, yes. Okay.
It says, "This is not a Halloween costume. This is me." And that's a photo of her. And she was such an amazing, inspirational person. That's what inspired this particular box. But I just do lots of different themes. They may seem humorous or lighthearted, but there's always a message. And I don't just do the Booby boxes. I also do vaginas. But I do different boxes that have messages, like people, like I have Madeleine Albright, and it's the Peace in the Middle East pin that she always said, read my brooches. So there are different ones like that. I lived through a derecho. No one knows what that is. A couple of years ago, a few years ago now. It's an inland hurricane, 110 mile per hour winds in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And we lost all or part of 26 trees. So I have a box called derecho, and it's actually a sculpted tree with a little owl in it. It's a dead tree. But they're all messages, and they're all things that are personal to me or other people, may speak to people in any kind of way. But that's one direction I went with my ceramic art, is like small sculpted pieces.
And I think actually, I think a booby niche is great. I actually have a booby corner in my house. I didn't name it. I didn't realize I had happened to be collecting a bunch of sculptures that had boobies on them. And then I did a cross stitch, which was all different kinds and colors of boobies. And my friend's daughter at the time, who was 11, went to my label maker and said booby corner and stuck it up on the wall. So I think it is a wonderful subject to talk about women and women's experiences. And like you were saying, the breastfeeding booby and the mastectomy booby and all that kind of stuff. They have their own life. Right? They really do. So I think it's a very strong subject. It's a very strong symbol. It's cute. It's funny as you go, oh, look, a box and you put something in. It's not. It's actually a really powerful symbol. So I think it is worthy of a series, a focus, all that kind of stuff. That's why I thought this was really interesting. Functional or not doesn't matter, but it's an interesting subject.
And I think it's something that speaks to women. I just think of it as a way of communicating the importance of so many different facets of our lives and the messages that we need to give to people that only we can share. My husband at first, he laughed. He said, that's cute. And then it really flourished, the idea did. And I went a million different directions with it. I think I have 25 boobies right now, and I'm working toward a solo show of all boxes. So the boobies will be, I suppose, in Burlington, Iowa, the X-rated corner. It's ridiculous. People they wouldn't let me sell my vagina ornaments. These are magnets, the one I showed you, but they wouldn't let me sell my vagina ornaments at the artist market locally. There's one woman there in particular who's an extreme prude, and I am going to name one of my boxes Kelly at my show just for her. It's going to be, I'm going to do some sort of big vagina, and it's going to be called Kelly.
Nice.
I just think she's too uptight.
You fly around or you take a car. You know how many shows I've been to that have been like the dark art markets, or I just went to the Market of the Beast. You would have been hugely popular there. Just go find your tribe. They're around. Maybe not right where you live. You just have to jump in the car.
Not so much in Iowa. It's been a tough go of it, but I have fun with it. Yes. And a friend of mine who did an article on me for my first ever solo show just a couple of months ago, he said, if they won't let you have your boobies at the Art Center Burlington, I'll do a show. He said, I'll do an article about how they won't let you. So
there you go.
I thought that was great support.
Good. Thank you. I think you should keep doing it. I think there is an audience for this, and I think people enjoy it. And yeah, it's serious and yet playful and fun at the same time. So thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. I know I'm so sorry, guys. I'm going so late. Briana Ratterman, who I don't think is here. This piece is called Trapped. I don't want to try to explain it because I don't think I would do it justice, but it's paper collage and it's 6 by 10 inches. And this piece is by Catherine Mellinger. There's no way I'm going to pronounce this. It's like Coron de Cotes or Cote. It's a photographic collage, oil stick and pencil. Again, there you go. This is just this kind of collaged aspect that makes this figure. And it's just, I thought it was a really interesting piece and kind of raw and almost impulsive, which I really loved. I love that aspect of it. Catherine, you are here.
I am.
I'm seeing you. I can't hear you well, though.
Oh, really?
There we go. That's better.
Okay. I also love boobies. To connect to that last piece, but I haven't always loved boobies. Definitely having children has made me have a very different relationship to my breasts, for sure. And now they are everywhere in my artwork. Yeah, so it's called Couronne Cote. It's titled in French.
Thank you.
And I like to title some of my pieces in French just because French is my first language. And so that sort of comes back in as a nod to my family. This is part of a larger series that I put into the realm of self-portraiture. I started playing with the idea of self-portraits about 3 years ago and stretching the idea of what a self-portrait is, because I became really interested in trying to figure out how to really show my experience of becoming a parent in artwork from the sense of a visceral sensory experience of parenting. I also live with invisible disabilities, and my sensory experience of parenting has been probably the most shocking part of the journey. I also have a kiddo who has autism, so it's all starting to make sense in terms of how my whole tribe like processes sensory information. So I really wanted to try to do a series that captured that part of parenting, the sort of like sensory aspect of parenting. And a lot of my sensory experience was around nursing as well, in terms of how it completely changed my relationship to my body. And I'm very fortunate that I have been following some artist movements like Maternal Fantasies, which is an international collective of parent artists who actually produce artwork with their children. And there's also Mothra out of Toronto, I'm in Ontario, who does artist parent residencies where the children also come to the residencies. And so there's been this really beautiful movement that's also been pushing me to look at the like where the intersection of not just like being a parent and being an artist, but like where does art stop and start in terms of adulthood and childhood. So part of what I was really interested in exploring in the self-portrait series was actually using drawings that my children have created, and then using those as part of the collage pieces. And then I had friends start to give me drawings that their children had made, because there's this universal quality of symbolism to children's drawings, like the houses, the clouds, the flowers. So I started using those elements in some of the pieces, because I thought if I'm really going to be doing self-portraiture, then I'm looking at who does my body belong to? Who do I belong to once I become a parent? So I wanted to use my kids' drawings in my works to blur the lines between ownership of self and how I'm not me without my children. And so my art doesn't quite feel like mine if it doesn't include some aspect of my children in it.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. So, and this particular piece, like in the series, a lot of the other pieces have a lot more layering with translucence in them. I've been working a lot more with like mylar and oil sticks and doing sort of clouded layers. But this one, I just wanted to make a nod to like my very first collage mentor, John Hunt in the States. He's in Seattle now. And so this piece reminded me of some of the works that he did that explored like religious undertones in work. And so I really liked the sort of feminist religious undertone of the halo or like the martyr. So I'd included that a little bit. And yeah, I've always, part of nursing for me was that it actually exacerbated some previous injuries I had to my ribs. So this was also like an homage to my rib cage, this piece with just that like spine structure with the ribs. And I'm also really fascinated by the history of the use of women's bodies in medical fields. And so I'm also playing on that in terms of how much women's bodies have been test subjects and been like products to be experimented with. So there's a number of actual parts in this piece that are parts of my body. There's some of my hands, there's parts of my legs that have jeans on, and it all morphs into something. I usually work very phenomenologically, so it's just happening on the page when I don't have a preconceived notion of what's going to happen.
Right.
These are also larger pieces. I used to work quite small in terms of a 9x12. These ones are quite large. They're like 35x28. So the breasts are actually the same size as my breasts, which I really have enjoyed doing that in the pieces too. And I don't advertise that, but it's this little secret that I hold.
Nice.
When I see people standing in front of the pieces and I'm like, it's exactly your size.
That's funny.
So I've been wanting to work more with life-size self-portraiture, but in a way that it's not immediately obvious that the portrait in front of them is the same size as potentially their bodies.
Interesting. That's fun. It sounds really intuitive and experimental, and I think that's great. I think that's a lot of fun. There can be so much pressure when you're creating art for perfection and getting this idea in your head exactly the way you want it on canvas or paper or whatever. So this is like really refreshing to me to see all these different elements put together.
Yeah, and I've been heavily mentored in that too. Like it's taken a lot of work. I also trained as an expressive arts therapist, and that kind of changed everything for me.
Okay, that makes a lot of
Because
sense.
everything became about what's happening and just answer what's happening. And so that's been super, super helpful because I'm generally a perfectionist. So this definitely moves me into, nope, this is happening now. And now you need to put a flower here. And nope, now this is asking for a hand. And just following that.
Yes, yes.
More experiential process has been really fun because it turns out better. Like when I used to do work in a very different sort of planned out way, I don't like that work as much as I like this work.
No, and that comes across in the piece. You can see that definitely is something you can see. Yeah, it's really fun. It's really fun. Thank you. Thank you. I had somebody else still sitting there for so long and they disappeared, whose piece is here, but hopefully we can still get to it. But so this piece is G.E Vogt, You'll Be a Wonderful Mother Someday. Yikes. Like just saw this and I was like, oh, the oppression is just, that was just a lot for me. So there's so much going on in this piece and I just want to like, just wanted to slap that man when I saw it. I was just like, oh, I just don't like him at all. So when you have that kind of reaction, this is Jennifer Holstrom, 21 grams of carbohydrate. I can't say every woman understands this, but I think most do. This kind of pressure. I was shopping yesterday and I put 3 or 4 things back because of the grams of carbs in it. Yeah, this existence, the pressure of looking beautiful, staying thin, the very universal concern and fear that women have put on them. Which also led to this one, Jennifer Nerio, Grasp 3, which I think is the same kind of idea. Jennifer wanted to join us. She's in Texas, and then she lost all her power today because of the hurricane. So unfortunately she could not, but to me, this had the same kind of body, like this self-loathing with your body feel to it, which I think a lot of women can relate to for sure. This is Marie-Ange Ackad, who was here and then she left. I don't know if I just went so late. I'm hoping that she forgives me for this, but it's called At This Moment. And it's a combination of oil, gel, and inkjet on canvas. And yeah, again, just a juxtaposition of this person who seems sad or lost in some thought or something that's this overwhelming feeling, and the beauty of all these different juxtaposed elements and colors and patterns and things. And yeah, the heavy, kind of this heaviness that it had that I felt was really raw and honest. So I really loved that piece too. There's 2 left. Elisa Rossi, this is called Ram. And I loved the spontaneity of this. I enjoyed the color. I enjoyed going into all the little details and drawings. It felt like human organs, and yet at the same time, there's religious aspects of it, and then stuff that's ovaries, and there's all these different things you can interpret in here that allow you to just skip around it for a really long time and explore a story. And I just thought it was a really interesting, beautiful piece. It's balanced really well, and like I said, spontaneous. And I just really was attracted to this. I feel like there's so much story going on here. Last one, the last Notorious RBG by Juana, Alicia, Araiza. And it's a screen print. And again, obviously the story, keep abortion legal, RBG, the technique it's done in, the dissent collars that she wore, just a tribute to her and what she represented. And just a nice, beautiful piece that I thought to wrap up the show. And that is everything. Finally, I'm 30 minutes over, but that is everything. And again, I'm going to stop sharing this at the moment. Again, just so honored. I know a lot of people have gone at this point, but so honored to have all of these pieces, all of this beautiful work submitted. And we're definitely going to be doing more shows. I have another one that I was supposed to decide by July 5th, and I'm still debating between 2 themes, but I'm going to put it out for the end of the week, I promise. I think it may have to do with things that you hold sacred. And then in the fall, which isn't too far away, maybe 2 months, definitely because of the political climate, I want to do something that represents women's autonomy. So definitely think about those if they're interesting to you. And yes, show these pieces. I am going to continue to promote them and list them individually on the website, in Instagram and Facebook. I will tag all of you when your pieces come up, and support each other, look into each other, go to each other's websites, check each other out. If there's something coming up for you, a show, something being published, anything that you're doing, please send it to me. And I will put it in newsletters and say, our artist such and such is having this happening, is having that happening. I want to really try to support you guys as much as I can. And again, thank you, because I cannot do this without everybody who submits their work with all the incredible skill and humility that you guys have. So thank you so much. Again, sorry for running so late. I just got so into this. But yeah, it's been great. And I will post this soon so you can share it with people.